Hello, for my Giver project, I made a model of the community that Jonas lives in, but in Minecraft. The first site that I made was the river. The river is important to the book because it is where the community line kind of ends, where the community ends, and it is where the child Caleb died. I have the path here that Jonas talks about, how some days he goes for walks on it when the Giver is in too much pain to give memories. I put the fence up because I don't want people falling in like Caleb did. I have the path for the bikes. The next up is the rehabilitation center. This is a place where people in the community can come after doing bad things. So I have here like some seats and like a blackboard so they can learn what they did. They can, know what they did wrong, and people can teach them what to do right next time. That's the rehabilitation center. Next up, I had the Annex. This is important because this is where the Giver gives Jonas all his memories in the bed with the two chairs and books. Gives all his memories, but it's also where the Giver lives. So back here he has a bed and some books, and this is where he lives. Next up we have the Department of the Bicycle Repair. The Department of the Bicycle Repair. This is important in the book because it's a joke that is always moved around and no one knows what it is. The reason I put it here is because they said Giver says that you don't want the Department of Bicycle Repair. Someone walking in us thinking that we're the Department of Bicycle Repair. So they talk about how. What is that? Next up, I made the House of the Old. The House of the Old this is where Fiona's in training, and she will work once she's done with her training. It is also important because it is where Jonas has his first earnings. Those are some rooms that I built for the old. If you walk up the stairs, I have a bath here. This is where the older bathes, and this is where he had his first stirrings. And if you can actually turn on the water, and you can turn off the water. So it's like an actual bath, and they all work. Not just one, for sure. And I have windows because they'd like to see, lots of light. You want to be nice and happy instead of gloomy. The next thing I built was the Department of Justice. Inside the Department of Justice, I have these seats so you could come and see what person's going to be told to do, and they come in here and someone would tell them what they've done wrong and what their punishment's going to be. The Department of Justice is important in the book because this is where Jonas's mom works. It's also a place, like I said, where people they go if they've been reprimanded. Next thing I'm going to is the school. Here I have these gray bars. I've used them to represent bicycle racks because they need to put their bikes somewhere. In the book they say they have bicycle racks, and I decided this represented bicycle racks well. This is the school, and inside each classroom there is chairs and a blackboard, chalkboard, so they can learn things. That the school is important because this is where Jonas learned. It is also important because this is where he first saw colors when he was tossing the apple around with Asher, and he saw it turn red, and then he took it home and he got in trouble for it. Next up, we have the Food Distribution Center. The laborers work here, and I have somebody walking around like getting food ready. And so you have apples, you have watermelons, you have bread, you have fish, like they say they have fisheries one day. Asher's late to school because he is distracted by the fish. They have potatoes. Next up, we have more bike racks. This is the Hall of Open Records, and so in here you could come in and look at all the different records and read them and so like that. Next to it, we have this is important in the book because they can come to the Hall of Open Records and see all the see see birthdays or any like other records that they might want to know. Next up, I have the Hall of Closed Records. This is important in the book because people can get in here, and the only thing what's stored in here is like the videos of the release, and you actually can't open this door without what I call a key to get in. So you can come in and see all the different records, and then there's like little ladders to get to bookshelves. But you can only get in if you have a key, which is why I do that. Next up, I have quite a few bike racks for the Auditorium. The Auditorium is one of the most important buildings in the Caregiver Society because this is where you turn to the next age. It is also the place where childs are when they're turning their they turn their age. It is also important because this is where Jonas learned he was going to be the new receiver. That's why it's especially important. So I have lots and lots of chairs down there for people to sit in. And then he talks about how each chair has a number on it, and it goes from 1, following back with numbers on every single chair, all the way back to number 50 chair. And the next thing I built was the Nurturing Center. The Nurturing Center is important to Jonas and the rest of the community, because this is where all the young children live before they are placed in families. It is also important to Jonas because this is where his dad lives, or dad works, and these are beds for the new children, and then back here I have like milk or food, whatever they would have or drink, to live. The next thing I have is the Child Care Center. This is where children go after school if they don't. This is where children go to if they are below the age of 8 because they can't go and do volunteer hours, but they are in school. So I put little pens that they would be in. That's kind of how I managed it, with lots of windows. They can see outside, so it's not like trying to be gloomy or anything. It's supposed to be a happy environment. I also have, which was not on the list, a house, because I thought this would look like a regular house, and this is where Jonas's family would live, which is what I think the novel's main theme is that family relationships are very important. I think this was the main theme because his family unit is the people he most trusts while he's in his bed. Well, he most trusts, but as the book goes along, he starts to grow farther from them, and at the end, he shames them by taking Gabe and leaving the community. But in the end, he always loved his family. He just didn't like the community itself. So I bet for his mom and his dad. So that's why I built the house. And finally, I built Elsewhere because I felt like building a road wouldn't really show how far it was, because it would just keep going and going and going and going for on and ever, because George says that he goes on for weeks, and so that'd be a really far distance. So instead, I built Elsewhere, and I built what he kind of sees at the top of what he dreams and sees at the very end of the book, and his first memory. I added a snowman because it was like his first memory. Like people are saying, usually might have snowman. So there's like a track down, but at the very end he died, or whatever you perceive it as it was. You get on this. Here's the sled, and then you can take the sled down the hill, or in the memory, like he takes the sled down the hill. And then once you get to the bottom, sorry. There we go. Sorry. That was bad. I'm so sorry. So then he would return, from the memory he would return back to here. So after the memory he would return here, he would return to here, or if it was like that, he would return to the snow, because I think he was see light flashing before his eyes. That is my giver essay. Thank you.